Today is December 30th. We are almost at the end of the year. This is typically the time where I sit down and put my plan together for the next year, which could be related to my health, my wealth related or money goals, and then professionally what I want to do and see how I did first of all on the last year and what I want to plan for the next year. So this time around, when I've planned for 2025, I've done a couple of things which are very different from what I've done previously, and I thought, why not sit down and share that with all of you. I've been practicing setting up some personal goals for several years now, and I've successfully seen them come through as well. Some of them not so much, but it still is a good activity for me to do and do a checkpoint every quarter and see how I'm doing on some of those goals. So, before I talk about that one idea which I'm implementing this year, I want to spend a couple of minutes to kind of set the stage of why thematic planning or planning for 2025 or any year is important. Number one, it's a very famous quote which says that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And we set goals, we're basically setting an intention for what we want to do in the year. It actually is you're defining your heading for the whole year. I was listening to Ryan Holiday recently, and one of the things which I picked up, which is the central part of how I've planned my 2025, it recommends that you pick a word of the year. Jives back to the point I was making earlier. It sets the intention, and so he suggests that pick a word which sets that tone and is a very thematic summary of where you want your year to be. So that actually totally makes sense. You could be setting 20 different goals and specific ideas for the year, but end of the day you still have to go back and tie all of these into one or two core heading behind the whole idea. The other thing I have made part of this year's the 2025's planning is actually writing all these goals and writing them and building as a manifesto of sorts. In the past years, what I've done is I've taken a journal, I've gone into either a digital journal or my physical journal, and write down all the goals I want to achieve by health, by relationships, by example in my professional circles, by example in the hobbies I want to take up, and I'll write all of those down. But this time, the one thing which I'm making a change is setting and writing a manifesto for myself, which I can put in a place where it is visible throughout the year for me. So how I built my 2025 manifesto, and this, as you go through this, think about it, and maybe this is what will help you as well. So number one, last week I spent some time reflecting on how my last year, or basically 2024, went. I had identified a set of goals across the main pillars, like I said, professional health, from a financial perspective, from my relationship perspective, from my growth and habits which actually lead to growth, like what I'm reading, what kind of hobbies I'm building, what kind of certifications I'm taking, things like that. So I kind of do go back and do some sort of rating for myself, like a very honest assessment of how I spent my whole year. Based on that, I also identify where are my stretch goals for this year, where are the things which I want to fix this year, and all of that goes through several iterations for myself. I basically write several pages worth of documents. So this year, all my summarization work has happened in my notebook. I've basically been spending about already written about 8 to 10 pages summarizing last year, and based on that, I identify what I want to put my energy on next year. So that kind of helps me, and putting this manifesto together kind of creates that roadmap for me to follow for the next year. So with that, let's bring all of this together with the word of the year and the manifesto of planning. I basically came out with my 2025 mission statement. If any of you are interested, write to me in the comment and I'll share the one which I've created. I've basically, after about 4 iterations of this, I have finalized on a statement and the manifesto for myself across the pillars, which I'll be putting on a frame, putting right where I work, and this is where I spend most of my time. Again, the whole idea of this is that this manifesto, number one, becomes your North Star. Number two, it reminds you of the thematic priority you want to be focusing on this year. as things start happening in the year, your priorities kind of get pulled into. So this should be a reminder, which brings you back to where your focus is. Number three is that this whole mission statement, manifesto, and North Star should be simple enough that you can read in about 1 minute or under 2 minutes on a daily basis. It should not be this complex and written in such a small font that you cannot really read it, or mind kind of trains itself to ignore it every day. Instead, you have to make sure that every day you spend that 30 second to 1 minute reading this whole thing and reminding yourself of what your priorities are. If you are curious, my priority, or my theme for this year, or the word of the year, is time. I'm going to be prioritizing time this year, and realizing and reminding myself that time is my most precious asset. And wherever opportunity presents, I should either back my time or invest in the time where which is going to give me the best return on the invested time. But again, I've broken it down into several of my priorities. But my theme and the word of the year is time. Again, I encourage all of you, if you're listening to me, to write down some sort of heading for yourself as the new year comes in, and see how that makes a difference to the new year for you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.